Okay, it's 7:01 PM on Wednesday, March 19th, and I will call the Finance Committee meeting to order. I have with me in the room Tom Parkins, Peter Twining, Dean Nahadas, Maury Creighton, and myself, Sarah Melch. As of this point in time, we don't have anybody on Zoom. Gail, are you on Zoom?
I am.
Oh, okay. Can you
And
see?
Andrea's on Zoom also.
Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Okay.
Thanks, Gail.
Yeah, if you, somehow it's not coming up on my laptop, so if you can just kind of give me a heads up if other members of the board join on Zoom.
I will let you know then.
Thank you.
Is there a gallery view that you can change?
No, it's off of my laptop.
I can monitor it too if you want me to get on.
Oh, good. That would help. I didn't do something right. I mean, I have it up.
Are we on platform 1?
Yes. Andrea's on Zoom and Gail's on Zoom. I saw a guy out walking this afternoon. He was ahead of me, so I didn't get. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is the change in the CPC budget. I think we talked about that at a prior meeting. And the CPC did approve to increase the amount of rotunda restoration up to $500,000.
Right.
Which brings the total to $897,100.
Those numbers are correct.
Good. So do I have a motion to approve the change in the rotunda funding and a new total of $897,100?
So moved?
Dean moves, Peter seconds. Any discussion? Tom?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes. I'm sorry, you're voting yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Sarah votes yes. Okay. That we did. And there's Gar. We just voted to approve updated CPC budget with the additional amount for the rotunda. Okay. Next up is the school budgets. So we had a presentation back in January, don't know when. And at that point, they were talking about an increased assessment to Manchester of 7.29%. Last night, the school committee voted for a slightly different budget, but maintained the 7.29%. So the changes they made was they put back in the middle school principal because they were getting so much pushback from parents. The actual health care renewal went down from 27% to 25.45, which I think gave them the money for that middle school principal. And then they eliminated $100,000 revenue for adding 20 school choice. And I believe the reason they did that is because Essex was pushing hard for that.
Does that save money?
Well, the concern was that would have made 96 school choice students. And to what extent out of 1127, so it's like 8.5%. So at what point does that mean you're holding on to teachers by filling the seats rather than
Going in.
saving. Yeah. And plus they were gonna have to bring them in throughout all the grades, so they'd be
Right.
here for a long time.
Yeah,
I think the last round they brought them in at high school,
that's right.
which isn't so bad.
It's just intuitively, I thought the district needed to grow. But I guess if this is how they wanted to do it, that's fine. I mean, it's,
So I think they're going to still consider it,
Mhm.
but they wanted to make sure they had an operating budget that's at the current level before they take on more students, because if they have to, if the budget isn't approved by Essex and they get a lower number approved, then that would have them rethink the number of choice students they think they can take.
Okay.
So
I mean,
if
it's
the
the
budget does go through as presented, and Essex approves it, then they're going to revisit the choice students. That's how they talked about it last night. So,
That's interesting.
yeah.
yes. No, I know.
Right,
It wasn't.
so they view it as a revenue gain only, they don't look at it as a cost.
Right.
So if they get
Because
the
of that
budget,
marginal seat
right,
approach.
But there's new building going on in Essex. Is it
Yes.
condos or what's something, a relatively large projects going in there with 30 or 40 units?
Is it that many?
I don't know, I thought so. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was less than that.
Oh,
but,
you could be wrong.
Is this at the old Tom Shea location?
one of the antique shops
Oh.
being bought and torn down, and
Oh, I thought this was a different one that was already in process.
well, I'm not aware of that one, but it
Okay.
could. Yeah.
Because the antique one hasn't been approved. I thought they had something that was approved.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
so Sarah, I missed the meeting last night, but so,
And one more thing, they changed the use of reserves from 500 to 600,000.
Make up for that lost
mhm.
choice money.
On the school choice, what was the delta? They were thinking about increasing school choice to some number of students, but they went back to another. What were those
Okay,
two
so
numbers?
the
20 more
current-
students.
Yeah.
How many?
It would add
20.
20
So
students.
the
20
current
students,
number
okay, so
is
76 to 96, okay,
Yes.
Yeah,
all right.
which is getting pretty close to the highest they ever
I
had.
was gonna say, the high water mark was like 108
Yeah, or
several
12
years ago.
or something like
It's a
that,
big
yeah.
bulge in the middle of the
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
2008 was a high year.
right.
But yeah. So, and I haven't been a strong proponent of school choice. I just think, I can see it at the high school level, if you have courses, if you want to offer more AP courses and you don't have enough students to fill them, then choice makes sense to me.
Right.
Doesn't make sense to me in the elementary grades.
Because you have them for so long, as well as.
Right, and you have a certain number that you want per classroom.
Yeah.
So then if new kids from the towns come in, you're adding
So it's-
another teacher.
So it's in migration during those years.
Yeah. Whereas high school, you have more flexibility because you can adjust what courses you offer.
Right.
Whereas in the lower grades,
It's more fixed.
yeah, it's more fixed education. So with this 7.29 increase to the school budget,
Mhm.
and they've made a slight change in the debt payments that go down a little bit. I
What
wasn't
caused that?
The interest numbers are different than what they gave us first time around.
Oh.
I don't know why. I don't get it. But I didn't realize it until very late
And that's
today.
why,
I said, oh, all my numbers changed.
so that's why the write-up's got to be adjusted for all those numbers.
Right. And so now, wait a minute, where's my crap? It was all organized. With that 7.29 assessment from the school and a slight change in the debt, it makes our tax increase 3.4%.
Mhm.
using excess levy capacity of about 332,000, which leaves us
Which is about
600,
1%,
over
which
6,
is about 1%.
yeah, which leaves us a little over 600,000 unused
Levy
levy
capacity,
capacity for future years.
which translates into about 2%.
Yeah, it's, our assessments now are 3.3 billion, so it's
Right.
330 is 1%.
Yep.
330,000 is 1%. Used to be lower than that.
Now, there was that multi-year strategy to try to use more reserves now instead of down the road to avoid something next year.
Our
That's something that-
reserves,
That's something that Essex was pushing for at that number crunching that you were saying? To
Yes.
use, but now, so they didn't do that, and that's their choice. But if Essex has a problem with it, should we be talking about a contingency of maybe doing that?
we can't.
Okay,
We
not
can't.
until it happens.
No, I mean, we can't do
It's
anything.
their decision.
We get whatever
It's a
assessment
contingency
we
for the
get.
super meeting, I guess.
We can't fund any additional amount for the school budget
Right.
to offset what Essex owes.
No, it would be, what they were
You're saying-
thinking of is they wanted to put more in the reserves, take less from reserves now when they're overriding to avoid overriding next year, because it was looking,
Well, when I looked at the enrollment figures,
yeah,
next year's gonna be really bad because
okay. So
we're dropping out a 284 number, and our average is going to be closer to a 684 number, and our average is going to be closer to 650,
Yeah,
and they're not dropping out a high number.
no, okay.
So it's going to
Dropping
skew.
out
It's
meaning
continuing
graduating.
the saga.
No, I'm sorry, it's a 3-year average.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a rolling average.
Yeah,
We
so
need
it's-
to recruit another town
Your terminology.
to add
Yeah.
to the district.
My terminology left something to be desired. Yeah, because currently
Currently, we're averaging 662, 449,
489.
49.
Yeah, and in the first year, in 2022, which will roll off in the
Right.
3-year average next year, we had 680, and they had 495. So their number 3 years ago is not that much higher than their average, whereas
Exactly.
ours is.
Yes.
So,
132.
I mean, I don't know what will happen next year, but, now they did have a drop in 2024 of 19
Significant,
students.
notable.
19. That's pretty good. So I don't think next year's gonna be much better.
Fine, yeah.
It could be worse.
Oh, yeah. So it makes sense, it still makes sense, as we discussed before, that we use the excess levy capacity and not go to an override. Okay.
Mhm.
Any more discussion on the school operating budget?
So just on that topic, that, I haven't read your whole report, I've only been a little bit into it, but that's probably a comment for the voters, because they will certainly see an increase, even though it's not voted at 3.4%. I don't,
We can say that, I can say that at town meeting when the school budget comes up.
yeah, right,
We made a decision not to go to an override, and we're using
exactly.
excess levy capacity. I mean, my report explains that the increase in the school budget is 1.1 million.
Right,
So the 330 is a drop in the
exactly.
bucket regarding
Yeah.
the full amount. So we're absorbing a lot of that school increase in our normal operating, offsetting our normal operating budget.
Exactly.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Which we've been doing for a long time,
It's
but
it's
this
been
is a lot
pattern.
more.
Well, we planned for 3.5% increase in the school, and this year it was almost 8, so
Right,
something had to give. And
right.
I
And we're using
excess.
less tax dollars for capital, right, Greg?
That's how we're
This
doing
year?
it.
Yes,
Yes.
because we have a high use.
We're using a lot more
Fund
reserves for capital this year.
Sarah,
Pretty close.
Yes,
Andy is online and his hand is up.
thank you.
You're
Andy,
welcome.
go ahead.
Oh, hi there. So what was the final number from the district for, it sounds like it didn't change much based on the conversation I was hearing.
It didn't, the percentages did not change. But what they did is their health insurance came down from 27 to 25.45%. So with that savings, they added back the middle school principal because so many people were asking for that. And then Essex didn't like the additional 100K for school choice. So they knocked off the 100K for school choice and took out an additional 100,000 of reserves. So they kind of tried to appease all parties because I had said it would be a problem if they changed the 7.29% after we'd relied on it for so long. So they kind of gave each party something.
Okay. The school choice thing confuses me. Usually that's an influx of money to the district. It sounds like, is that how, was Essex seeing it differently or?
Well, I think the problem with the school choice is we currently have 76. And they were talking about adding 20 to bring it to 96, which is 8.5% of the total school population. And they were going to have to add it throughout all the grades rather than just at the high school. And I think that the Essex position is, well, the high school is one thing because you have more offerings, so you have more vacant seats if you want to offer a lot of courses, whereas in the elementary, you don't really have very many vacant seats, and the class sizes are up to capacity almost. So if you have more town residents come in, you're bumping into a new teacher, so you're not really saving.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it. I'm going to peel off, but
Okay,
thanks.
okay, thanks, Andy.
Bye.
He's in the middle of a business minute or something. Any more conversation on the school? Okay. With that, do I have a motion to approve the regional school district operational budget in the amount of $17,530,680. Is it 80? Yeah.
Can I ask a
That
question?
wasn't the number.
Because the thing you circulated earlier showed 17,529,952.
From the 18.
Look at this thing. Well, it's 530, 452.
I think
That may have been one of the other options.
the new numbers is 17,529,953. That's what you have in the report.
Yeah, and
Oh, okay.
that's what
This is
Michelle said
This
too in
is
her
what
email.
was sent out earlier today. The
Right.
spreadsheet,
Because
I have something else.
529.
Yeah, I have something
That's okay.
that they changed. Yes, I'm sorry, $17,529,953.
So moved.
Dean moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Maury seconds. Any discussion? Take a vote. Tom?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
And Sarah votes yes. Okay.
It would, of course, be a silly question to be sure we're correct on the number. We just voted the right.
Yes,
I've seen so many school numbers.
right.
I just wanted to be absolutely sure.
Yes.
It is
Because I have
what,
at least 6 of them.
it is what Michelle Cresta sent last night
Yep, after the
Okay.
meeting.
after the meeting.
Yep.
Okay. I just,
That's the good one.
Yeah,
it's a good one. Okay.
Do we have to
It's a
vote on
legit
the
question.
and
the
it
debt number?
comes, and it's an increase of $1,190,425 for a percentage change of 729.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Very good.
Now, the next number is the debt number, which originally we were looking at like 2,648,000 or something, and now it's down to 2,645,382.
because the numbers were being calculated on the wrong interest rate, maybe? Is that-
I don't know why.
I'm not 100%.
She had different interest numbers in her first report. It may be that she just looked at things more closely and realized that something was amiss. So that's a decrease of $75,525
Okay.
or 2.78%. This is school fact page 2. So do I have a motion to approve? It's called the capital budget, I guess. The capital budget for debt costs for the regional school district in the amount of $2,645,382.
Yes.
So
Peter moves, Maury seconds. And just so everyone understands these, in case people have forgotten, the debt repayments are calculated at the point in time in which the loan is issued based on equalized valuation and population. So once the loan's issued,
Right.
it doesn't change.
I did not recall that.
So it's the apportionment factor at the time the loan is issued
Right,
and not as it changes.
right. So it doesn't change every year, so that you know when you go in on the loan.
You have to have some.
Yeah,
And because I have no idea what that ratio was at that time, can it be recalled? Is that substantially different than the current ratio?
well, the loans that we have are over multiple years.
So they're all going to be all sorts of different ratios.
Yeah, so for
They're
instance,
broken out by projects too, like the high school, which is
Yeah.
almost rolling off debt, and Memorial is just sort of
yeah,
in
so
its
the,
infancy.
the middle high school, we were 75%,
Okay.
okay? See if for the second loan for the middle high school, we were down to 74%.
No wonder the number is confusing. Okay.
For the Memorial School, the first loan, the big one, we were at 74%.
Thank you.
And for the next one, we were at 73.8%. And I think that's all there was.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for going back.
so it,
So it's significantly lower now than it had been in previous years.
well, I think so this is based on equalized valuation
I know.
and population. I think Essex population has been going up more rapidly than ours.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
And I think their equalized values are increasing
More rapidly.
more
also.
rapidly than ours. So that's the way it works. And then there's still a short-term band debt that we're down to 73% on. Do you know what they're doing with that short-term ban? I was surprised it still existed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
Is that
We can
from
find out.
Memorial?
yeah. It's a 1.1 million.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to still see that.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. Okay, so we don't know why that's still there.
Maybe they're waiting for
And
bond,
Andy left, he
bond
might.
rates to decline. Before
Could
they
be,
issue bond,
could be.
these are bond
Right.
anticipation notes,
Yeah,
so.
Could be.
it's,
I vaguely recall they were keeping that site for capital, for finished capital in the space, but why they didn't use the, when we bonded stuff early, we made out on interest rates.
right.
And that extra, we fought that we should stay in capital, never go to operating, and then so maybe the band was used for finished capital in the building.
I don't know, I don't see. It may be in here,
I can look back on my notes
but
at some point.
I don't even see what interest rate it is. But it certainly has been increasing in each budget year. Surprise, the interest rates have gone up. Okay, so any more discussion with respect to anything on the schools?
I think we need to vote on debt.
Oh, we didn't vote, we just,
I think we
okay.
have a, we have a motion, we have
And
a second.
Okay. Ready to
Gail's going to hold us to the fire on this one.
Approved.
Okay.
I was just about to say,
Tom,
Yes.
Gar,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Sarah votes yes. Thank you for keeping me out of trouble.
just didn't want to get you in hot water.
So now we have a change in the capital budget.
These are our capital, the towns.
Yes,
Yeah.
the town's capital budget.
Yep.
So remember how we discussed 200,000 for the senior center,
Yes.
and we didn't like it.
Yes.
The select board has come back with a compromise of 50,000.
The plan.
Those are
Scheme
the
happens.
most amazingly expensive little pictures there are.
Yeah, I agree.
Amazing expensive.
Well, so that's,
Sorry, I just had to say that.
so it is to advance the final design and layout, and then do pictures on that final design. So it's not just pictures,
Okay.
it's design work.
But it's not on this capital thing.
No, it wasn't.
I'm sorry?
It's not on our capital list.
It's not on the 318 update.
Which 318 update of the spreadsheets?
I didn't,
Pardon?
I added the 50,000 after the 18th update.
Okay. Okay, so will you send me a new spreadsheet?
Yeah, I did.
Well, that's what I printed.
No, I think she sent another one.
I got two,
Okay,
and I printed the second one.
it should be,
So that should be the one.
Okay.
it should show that 50,000 in the fund balance column.
So
This is in capital.
for the total Article 5 number. What's the final number? 4165875?
4265875.
That's up 100.
It's 4265.
No, it should be 4.
They didn't add back in we took out the boat thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we took out the
No,
structure, the storage structure.
Yeah, that's all right. So it should be the 4165.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the CPC. Wait a minute.
The warrant.
Okay, 50,000, yeah.
Fund balance.
So this is saying,
But that doesn't show up in that recommended column yet, so 50,000 more is going to be 421.
So it's 4265875.
875. So the
4215875.
4215875. Okay, that makes sense.
and
Don't
your
you have to add
taxation
50,000?
is,
Yeah, don't you add 50,000?
yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm adding
We
50,000.
had 4165875, and we're adding 50,000 to that to get 4215875.
Yes.
So can I ask a silly question? How do you get I'm looking at fund balance on the capital page. I see 800,000, and I see a 50,000, and I see 116,000.
is this from the 227 handout?
No, it's
The
it's
318, I
it's-
sent it to you at 6:30 tonight.
Okay.
And way down on the capital,
That doesn't add up to 1.5.
it's column O, which is the fund balance column.
Yep, doesn't
And
matter.
it adds up, the add up number is 1,556,000, but there seems to be a disconnect there.
Oh, it's missing, no, that's right. It's got the 800 for the rotunda.
You got to go up higher, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're not seeing the whole column.
My mistake. Okay.
Yeah.
We had a
I
floating.
just did the same thing.
Fair enough. Okay, that makes sense.
So we need to revote the capital budget.
So as part, I'm sorry, I should have talked to Andrew about this earlier. So the rotunda doesn't need to be, back up. It would be helpful to have all the road resurfacing money available right after town meeting. So that total of 700,000 ideally would be all fund balance. And
As opposed to
rotunda-
taxation.
And do,
No taxation for
and do
road resurfacing.
300,000 for the rotunda taxation.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to swap those two out. Rotunda we won't need until the following February-ish,
Okay,
or winter.
so the road will be 700.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So for road resurfacing, the 700,000 would all come from fund balance.
Okay,
So we get rid of the 300,000 in taxation. So we bring that $300,000 in taxation to rotunda and reduce the fund balance for rotunda
The
to
500.
500.
500,000. Okay, thank you.
So no change in the bottom line, just where it's apportioned.
Yes.
Fund source.
So the fund balance number includes the 50,000, is that correct?
Correct,
At the 1556,
Correct.
correct.
okay. Any discussion about this item? We okay with it?
Yep.
It does, to me, it doesn't seem worth going to a town meeting, contrary to the select board for 50 grand. That's
No,
just
and
my
I
opinion.
think, given the overall
And it
scope of the
makes
project,
sense.
it's such
Yeah.
a small amount,
Right.
it's not going to interfere with fundraising, and nobody's going to say, oh gosh, you've already allocated all the money you need. It's
Right,
like
Is it
seed money.
Is it worth saying that we are looking for the construction to be based on funds raised? I mean, notwithstanding this standby amount, the conversation, at least in my ears, has been, had a certain presentation at the start of this senior center, which I heard to say, we'll buy it and the rest will be done with fundraising. Now we've evolved a bit and we're doing the 50 as a backup.
and I think part of the problem is, what's the final design going to be? And in that final design, what portion of it is going to be town office? That's what's bubbling to the surface.
Oh,
So if there's talk about putting Department of Health over there,
yes.
Council on Aging, and anything else,
Maybe parking rec,
maybe Park and Rec.
there's some options.
I see.
But certainly the meeting room, I mean, that multi-purpose room will be
This is a new
used as
angle.
meeting space.
I had not thought about that angle.
So I think that what's going to happen is they're going to go out and do their fundraising,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody's going to come up with a cost for this project.
Mm-hmm.
And the question will be, what's the delta?
So perhaps a
And,
silly question.
Underlying thinking on the Delta will be, the town's got a lot going on in this structure that has to do with town operations.
Yes. When push comes to shove.
So where does it fit then in our fairly carefully honed debt, 25-year debt program? I mean, the number,
So I am
It's not there.
I'm assuming the fundraising is going to be 100% successful.
So if it isn't, then we have to relook at our 25-year plan.
And I still feel that way.
that will be successful,
Yeah, I do.
even though there's a lot of the structure will be town offices.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
right.
I'm skeptical.
Perhaps a horse before the cart or a cart before a horse. If this is done as donations, does it fall under prevailing wage?
Yes, it
Because
still does. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? on
Is there a
this
budget for this project?
item?
There's the renovation construction is assumed to be in the 2.5 million range, up to 3 million.
Is that for both sides of it or just the town side?
Town side only.
So, okay.
So that's for the, you said for the town side?
Yeah, Masons are doing their
Mason's
side.
had the other side.
Oh, I realize the Masons. No, I'm talking about, is there a budget for the Council on Aging, the,
Oh, the organization.
yeah, the
Yes.
senior center?
No, we
Senior
haven't
center,
split out.
It's not split up.
It's not split out.
And so we do have a budget for the senior center and the town offices that may also be over there.
In
As
total,
well.
that 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was prepared by somebody who's.
That was, a very high level estimate. Looking at square footage that we were planning, a per square foot cost.
So presumably they have a target of how much money they have to raise.
Yes,
And I think that by doing this additional 50,000, that would hopefully make things a little more
More
definitive.
precise.
Yeah,
correct.
and help.
Good.
Prepare
further define the cost.
prepare materials to show that the donors know what they're donating for.
I think it would be very awkward to have nothing done over this next year since we spent $1 million, so that this 50,000 is a good idea. Just
Keep it moving.
the reason to keep it moving, to spend $1 million and then to sit and do nothing for a year. I think we need to prime the pumps a little.
And was the purchase and sale finally signed, or?
It's very, very close. It's just I know I've been saying that for a long
Sounds like
time.
the SHI list.
Yes. We're aiming for the next select board meeting.
And the people, and I'll drop this is the last question I'll have. There's a person or two or three people who are where the buck stops.
For the donations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if I understand the question.
Yeah, that's what it is. Are there people who say, yeah, we're gonna do it, don't
Yes.
worry. We're on the hook to get this done.
Yes,
Okay, great.
And there's also a consultant that was hired to
correct.
assist. Where's that being paid out of?
That's through a grant that we
It's
received.
a grant.
Yes, a state earmark. Through earmark.
Thank you. Because I hadn't seen that number anyplace.
Correct.
The grants we don't see.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I forgot there was a grant.
do we anticipate the purchase and sale being signed before town meeting?
Yes, we do. That would be good.
That would be safe.
Project has just been
see what-
Nate was saying that he thought we'd know by now on the permit for the culvert too. Is that he put it in like a month ago or so, and he's hoping to hear back by a certain. Have we heard back?
We have not heard back yet, no.
Well, it's still out there too.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve a revised capital budget in the amount of $4,215,875 with the amount from fund balance changing to $1,556,000, and the amounts from all the other funds remain the same.
So moved.
Barr moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Maury seconds. Any discussion? Take a vote. Tom?
Yes.
Barr?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
And Sarah votes yes. Okay, so we're good on that. And the additional information I have, which I probably should have told you before we voted on the capital budget, but is that I asked Andrea to let me know, I was looking for the email, what the status of our reserves was after the spending for this budget. And I believe it will be 9.18% of the operating budget.
9.32 is what,
I thought 3.2, yeah.
that's what her email
Yep.
late last night
Change?
said.
Well, maybe not. Maybe I have the wrong number in my report. She gave me 9.18.
How are you looking at?
Andrew sent an email last night.
Last night I had the same email.
Andrea, what's the right number?
That's easy, good.
I'm just looking, it's 9.32% of the operating budget. I know it's confusing because I also gave you 8.17 of the total budget that included the capital.
Yeah,
Yes.
so, okay,
And this is from 11:07 PM, that email.
so the fund is 9.32%.
Yep.
Which is
Fine.
above target.
Yep.
Now, one of the things we talked about, and it's in my policy in this report, and we may want to change it, is we had talked about the fact that it might make sense to have stabilization be only 25% of the total. But I guess the percentage to vote stabilization has changed to majority, right? We don't need 2/3?
Oh, the statute has
That's
changed.
correct.
Okay,
Oh, wait, is it
but
still 2/3 to take out, but just a majority to put it in?
it's always been a majority to put it. I don't
I'm
know.
drawing a blank. I
Okay.
have to look at that
I have to
again.
look, I'm sorry, I had to look it up.
But the stabilization, we can invest in a way that we receive better earnings than the fund balance. It almost makes sense to have a higher stabilization.
If the reason that we wanted it to be the lower was because it took a different,
Right, that's, I think,
Vote.
why we were talking about it, yeah.
certainly seems that way.
If it's a majority from 2/3, that would make sense. But you never know
Because
where.
we're not using, according to this, we're not using any stabilization. Is that correct, Andrea?
That's correct.
So all this is coming out of fund balance.
Right. I mean, if it came out of stabilization, we'd have to have a vote on it, right?
Right.
We're not anticipating that.
Correct.
I mean, stabilization's been sitting the same place for a long
Ever,
time.
yeah.
It's just because it's so difficult to get out.
We took some out last year.
Right. It was high.
Yeah, we spent it on, I can't remember what.
And stabilization is what you're trying to find out how it's invested, right?
Well, Andrea sent me the investment allocation, so I haven't had my software reloaded yet. It's a long story. When I get there, I'll be able to do that. But Sarah's right, because that's a longer term investment.
Yes.
So it's more aggressively invested, greater long-term returns. And the other balance is just interest bearing accounts of banks.
So I'll delete that 25% thing from my policy.
So was there a change made at the state level or whoever the power is that describes?
There was a change, and I just can't remember which way it was.
It's helpful to know, because we always sort of gloss over stabilization by assuming it's a 2/3 vote. We don't want to touch that. But if
I
it's
thought they
becoming,
changed it to a majority to take it.
That's what I thought you said last year,
Yeah.
but
That is my memory, but it's not crystal clear, so let me confirm.
Did our auditors or anything make any recommendation about changing that policy?
I talked to Andrea about it because I was a little confused as to whether we needed stabilization equal to 5% or something. And she said it's the total reserves that they look at.
Yes.
They don't have a
And a
distinction.
lot of towns don't have stabilization.
Right.
So from a rating standpoint, it doesn't matter.
Can I ask a really stupid question?
Yes.
What is stabilization?
It's
It's one of the reserve funds that's.
If nobody wants to answer.
So it's a higher, it's a more restricted fund balance fund.
Okay. So you have reserve funds and then you have stabilization.
No, the stabilization is part of our
So it's
reserves.
part of the reserve.
So our reserves are stabilization plus fund balance.
Okay.
And the fund balance is if we have revenues higher than what we project
Money
or
that-
expenses are lower than what we expect,
Go in the bank.
it goes into the bank.
It's like net
The fund
income.
Fund
So
balance
the
is
municipal
sometimes
equivalent of
free
net
cash.
income.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, so the state calls it free cash and stabilization. It's two different.
Well, we're calling it fund balance, is that
I
correct?
know, that's,
Yes.
they've changed it.
I
Just
We
out of
don't like
curiosity,
free
what is-
cash.
What is the purpose of calling it stable? What does it stabilize?
It gives I think originally they were pushing it to have the town proactively set aside money into a cash fund to be able to protect when expenses go up or down.
So operational stability, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yes.
If we get hit by a tsunami and we drain our free cash,
Then
then we'll have to
have
use the
to stabilize
stabilization.
what's going on.
We'll have that
Okay.
time to
Thank you.
convert it.
Reserve.
And it makes
Great.
more sense in some other towns where it's
Right.
difficult for them to get overrides.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of pushback yet on tax rates.
Is that why Essex has more of they set up a number of reserves?
Oh, yeah.
Is that's in fact to stabilize?
They're-
That's
yeah,
more of
they're-
an accounting method they use, like accounts for trucks and
It-
accounts for every little thing.
So what we do is we set a tax rate equal to our current expenses.
Yes.
Essex sets a tax rate higher than their current expenses in order to squirrel away money in advance in various funds.
Sort of like funded depreciation or
Right,
something
it's
like that.
like our fire
just like the
apparatus
fire-
fund.
Right.
We put
Okay.
300,000 this
Okay,
year into the
thank
fire
you.
apparatus
Sorry.
fund. Yeah,
I think also we have a very tight budgeting system, thanks to
Greg.
town, and Greg and Andrea. And so, we don't need to be squirreling away into all these little compartments. We kind of look at it as a whole, like a rain barrel. But all these different accounts are looking ahead at fire and looking at different things, so.
And we fund a new, our schedule is we fund a new police vehicle each year, the whole price. Sometimes two. But we don't set aside 1/3 of the cost each year because we're automatically doing a whole one each year, so it doesn't make sense. But
Thank you.
we don't like to have all these accounts that we don't know exist. Because the other savings account we have is the water and sewer enterprise funds. So those we purposely keep extra money in them in case the rates fail to cover the actual expenses in a given year. Since the rates are set at the beginning of the year. And if we have lots of rain, people don't use as much water. So we don't collect as much revenue.
I would still find it interesting to know whether it's 2/3 vote or majority vote.
Yeah, no, I'll confirm that for you.
I think it also makes our town meeting easier too, because we're not voting on every single little reserve account, having to withdraw from this and add to that, which is just sort of chaotic,
Yes,
in my view.
yes. I would agree.
Okay. So we have voted for all items on the budget.
So we're now completed on the budget?
Yes. Unless anybody has anything they want to raise with respect to the budget.
Uncertainty with some of these projects and the financial reserves, whether it would be prudent to have more money in our reserve account or not.
We set a target of 8% of total.
Not reserve, not that reserve, the FinCom reserve.
Oh.
In case we need to,
I don't think we need to because we used to have a higher FinCom reserve, but it was when we had only one town meeting a year. Whereas now we're routinely having a meeting in November.
well, that
or
was
in
the
the
point,
fall.
it would avoid a special time
But
meeting.
we always seem to have it for zoning
We do,
issues.
we do.
Yeah. So,
And frankly, you can do a supplement at the annual town meeting as well.
well, that's true too. Yeah,
You do have that option.
yeah.
So, I mean, I would typically not argue against a higher reserve number, but I think we're okay.
Well, I'm just looking at like, we had the culvert, we have
Those can't
The
come from
rotunda.
FinCom reserve.
but,
Capital items can't come from FinCom reserve.
okay, all
That's
those
only for
projects, I'm
operating.
just worried about the estimates because of the new tariffs coming in.
Then they have to come back before town meeting again.
Yeah, okay.
And those are going to be bigger numbers than you're going to want to put in reserve.
Yeah,
You're
but
talking.
we don't use the FinCom reserve for capital.
Right.
We only use it for operating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we
Following slightly on that, with all the turmoil at the federal level at the moment, are there grants that have become, or grant applications that we have yet to hear about? Or is there a changing probability of
Grants.
federal money in any of the grants that we've got outstanding or grants that we anticipate to have outstanding?
I mean, it's a worry. The culvert project in particular, we have a 4.2, let's call it, in a FEMA grant.
Okay.
We do not have that money in hand, so I makes me nervous.
FEMA, yeah.
I think FEMA monies are, I haven't heard FEMA monies being talked about in terms of some of the slash and burn that's going on, but
They're talking about sending it all back to the state to deal with.
right.
And Boston's
So
mayor.
this is already a pass, FEMA's already passed it to the state, which is allocated it to us. We don't have it in hand, but it is allocated to us.
Okay,
So
that's a pass.
it gives me some worry, but I'm not panicked.
And what about the million for
question.
the rotunda? We lost the CZM, but what's the other grant?
The other one is the Seaport Economic Council
Okay,
Fund. Again, that's state money.
okay.
And the indications are that we're in pretty good shape for that one. We will know by, I don't think we'll know by town meeting, but maybe shortly thereafter.
Great, got it. Thank you.
Okay,
Nothing further.
I looked at the stabilization fund.
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's a majority vote to put money into the fund, but it still retains a 2/3 vote to make appropriations out of the fund.
okay, thank you.
So the change was to make it a simple majority to put it in.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
But I will say Maureen Hill just put through her Empowerment Act to change some of those rules about stabilization. So we'll see in the future how that will hold.
Yeah.
But right now, it's still 2/3 to appropriate out.
Thank you,
Do
Andrew.
we think it's going to get more stringent to remove it or less
No,
stringent?
less.
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 That would be my
Yeah,
guess.
less.
But that Empowerment Act isn't gaining much traction yet, so.
Isn't that the one they had to pull the
The
Meeting.
hybrid meeting.
hybrid
yes.
meeting out? in order
They
to
pulled
get
it
done in
out to
time?
do it
Yeah.
separately, yeah. The Empowerment Act gives some more local option taxes,
Mhm.
which would be great, but the legislature is loath to give up some of their taxing authority.
Surprise.
Okay, next on the agenda is the warrant articles.
Right.
Greg sent the warrant out a couple of days ago. I've gone through it, and I've come up with all of the articles that we traditionally would take no position on because they don't have a financial impact. And I don't know if we want to vote those in mass, that we take no position. And those articles are 1, 2, 7 through 14, which are zoning things, and the tobacco thing, I think. And then 18 and 20.
So at the risk of having a tomato thrown at me, there is potentially one more.
What might that be?
And that is a request from the assessors to adopt a new local option to allow the exemptions granted to veterans to increase at the rate of inflation. And so it's called the Heroes Act, which was adopted last session. So the select board hasn't taken it up yet. They will take it up next week.
What's the current exemption?
Current exemption is roughly $400. We have 18 veterans who take advantage of that. So if it had been in place this current year, it would have added a total of about $500 to our, what do we call it? Why am I blanking on the Andrea, help me out. What's the fund we use to refund taxes?
Overlay.
Overlay.
The overlay, thank you.
Okay.
So it would just tap that fund. If it had been in place, it would have been about $500 more than what we paid out this current year in the overlay. And the overlay typically has those dollars to cover that.
And do we have records on what we're spending out of overlay? Because we just have the overlay item in the budget every year, and we
Yes.
never see what the balance is or anything. Are we spending the $100,000?
Not every year, no.
Is it a carryover amount? Do we carry it over if not spent? Is it one of those unique accounts that, or is it added back just to free cash?
We actually appropriate some of it too every year.
Right.
What do you mean, Andrea?
So for under the finance committee reserve fund, we usually use 125,000 of overlay excess each year. That we, any of those overlay funds that we don't use, we put towards that fund balance reserve in the operating budget.
Oh, okay. So it's not going back to free cash?
No.
Right, it has to be.
Well, unless you don't use the reserve fund.
Okay.
Can I just make another comment about the Heroes Act?
Yes.
Since I was just at my conference, we actually had a whole session on the Heroes Act.
Okay, that's helpful.
And yeah, it is very helpful. And one of the things that they mentioned was that communities should be aware of is that before, when you could get an exemption on your real estate, you could just go to the assessors, fill out your forms, submit all your documentation. But then if you wanted, you can also get 100% off your excise tax. But you have to go to the registry of motor vehicles to do that and go to their medical unit, and it was really difficult. And so a lot of veterans didn't do that. This new Heroes Act changes that. So when a veteran comes in and applies for their exemption on their real estate, at the same time, they can also ask for 100% off their excise.
So that could impact our revenue.
So that could impact some of our, I don't know what the impact would be yet, but I don't think it'll be a lot, but I haven't looked into it yet. But that was something that changed that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, that they were warning communities that it might impact your excise, motor vehicle excise.
So we're looking at what, about 18 people in town? Do we think
Yeah,
this,
18, 20 people.
so 18 out of 4,000 or that pay excise tax, or
Right.
3,500 is probably small.
Typical excise tax. It's hard to say what a typical one is.
$100 or something, or 200.
No, it's more than
No,
that.
it's more than that.
More.
A couple hundred.
Mine's 63 because I have an old car.
It depends on the
It just depends how old your car is.
When it's big and then it goes.
So it's probably cars and boats and motorcycles and stuff like that, right?
I would think the change would be in our 95% estimate that we do.
I thought that's why the 95 made so
That's
much
where it's
sense.
kind of going with it.
Yeah.
It would definitely.
Cars are going to get older and.
Yeah, I'm very old. Peter, whatever it's called.
So we would have to take a stand on that.
Um,
Once we'd need numbers from Andrea.
So would that
Yeah,
be?
so that's something you could wait until town meeting,
Yeah,
make your
yeah.
recommendation on the floor?
Yep.
Just to
We'll
give
do
us
that.
time to give you more analysis.
Okay.
So do you want to look at 3, 5, 6, 15, 16, 17, and 19? Some of these we've already done, I think. But
Oh, 19, I was assuming we didn't have to do. 18 through 20. Look at 19. Yes.
So, is it 13 that talks about short-term rentals? It's really more of just a question. Do we collect any revenue from short-term rentals?
Yes.
You do.
And that was established years ago, and it's just sort of automatic, right, through the state or whoever's doing that
Yes.
collection, we get something back on that?
As long as they're registering.
Yeah,
Like Airbnb and
right.
VBRO have to do it.
Right. If you're using one of those firms, they make sure
We
you're
do it.
collecting it, paying to the state.
If
So
you
there's
go
no
direct-
change implemented there on 13. Just
Right, so,
status quo, basically.
yeah, I mean, 13 is saying,
This is only applying to ADUs.
right,
So what it's doing is our current short-term rental that we have in town is less than a week.
Right.
If people in town register, but we get payments from Airbnb regardless of how long it is. But this is saying if you do an ADU, you can't rent it for less than a month.
Okay.
You just can't do it.
Yep, all right.
See how we enforce that?
right.
So that they didn't want people putting in ADUs
And using
just for
them like-
short-term
yeah.
rentals. Yeah. But you could rent them
On a monthly basis.
on a monthly basis in the summer.
Yep.
And that is the definition out of the state. So because the ADU law said you could exclude short-term rentals, you couldn't go any longer than
Mhm.
31 days in the state. Kind of thing, so it's kind of this. So are people comfortable with us saying we take no position on 1, 2,
7.
7 through 14 and 18 through 20?
I am.
I'd like to look at it and vote on it next meeting.
No, we need to vote on it now so that it gets in the warrant. It gets in the booklet.
Yeah, I mentioned the one
We're going to talk about all the ones with financial impact. These are just the ones that I felt didn't have any financial impact.
Right.
And I don't see any point of discussing in a finance committee meeting a warrant article that doesn't have financial impact. Everyone may have their own opinion.
Right.
But if it doesn't have financial impact, it didn't make sense to discuss it.
financial impact to the town budget.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's.
Might to an individual, but not to the, right, yeah. So
Hello, I have my hand up.
yes, and what scale?
The first time you mentioned the warrant articles, it was 1 to 2, 7 to 14, and you said 18 and 20.
18 through, it's 18 through 20.
Okay, well, I wrote down the wrong thing, so I'll correct it.
So did
Got
Peter, so I must have misspoke.
Well, no, I'm sure,
Whatever. Yep. So what are the numbers we're recommending skipping over? 1 to 2.
1, 2, 7 through 14, and 18 through 20. So I'll make a motion that we take no position on warrant articles 1 and 2, 7 through 14, and 18 through 20.
Right.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Gar seconds. Any discussion?
There was one, I think, hold on, is it, the one about construction noise that was struck because of the,
Well, construction just doesn't have a financial impact.
Well, so it talks about raising the fines to 500 and higher,
why should we,
but we can't do that. It's against state law. State law caps us at 300, so that's going to be passed over.
This is
But
20,
so-
Article 20.
Article 20.
but why don't we just change the number from 500 to 300? And then it would be, okay with
That's
it.
not our,
Well, it's,
up to us.
Somebody,
Okay.
somebody.
it's
put an
already, it's
article
already in the
forward.
bylaw.
Yeah, oh, it's already like that?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
So
That was
on the
all.
motion?
I made a
Motion and
motion.
seconded already.
I second.
Yeah, we
Gar
seconded.
seconded.
Yep.
Any more discussion? Take a vote. Tom,
Yes.
Gar,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
and Sarah votes yes. And then there's one, number 21, which is the catch-all that we have to make on town meeting floor.
Right,
Right.
exactly right.
So do I have a motion that Article 21,
Will
we'll make
be
a recommendation on town
on
meeting
town
floor?
meeting floor.
So these numbers
So-
may change if we add that, if we add that HEROES Act number.
So moved.
We'll-
21, which may become 22.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, numbers may change slightly, but we'll certainly track which ones.
Okay. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 we need to discuss and vote on.
That's right.
The first one is Article 3.
Yep.
Which is the funds for the Essex North Shore.
And we've already voted this
Right.
here. So
We have.
So we vote recommend.
Yeah.
Okay. We have the budget.
Yep.
Recommend.
we've done that,
Okay. We have the capital budget, Article 5.
which we've done.
As
Okay.
amended. Right.
6.
This has it in there. 6 is the school district.
We've done.
Okay. So I have I make a motion that we recommend warrant articles 3, 4, 5, and 6. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? Take a vote. Tom,
Yes.
Gar,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah says yes. Okay, 15, 16, and 17.
Okay, 1 second. You made a motion and Maury made the motion to
I
do
made
21
I made the motion. Sarah made the motion.
on town meeting 21.
She's
You did, there was not a second. And,
Right, no, we're on to 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, we didn't vote on 21.
all right, I was just checking in on that.
I think we're back to 15.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Do we want to vote on the 21 first?
Okay.
The HEROES
What?
Act.
No, the
That's
21 is town.
We did
town
vote
meeting
on
floor.
that.
Three, okay.
I thought we voted on that.
Whatever. Let's just vote it again then. So
So I made a motion that we make the recommendation on town meeting
Meeting
floor
floor.
for Article 21, maybe 22. Who's the second?
I'll second.
Gar seconds. Take a vote.
Yes.
Tom, Gar,
Yes.
yes.
Peter, Dean,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah wrote yes.
Okay.
So mechanically, we basically meet before the meeting, open our meeting, and then we vote on this or not vote on it at the end of the meeting, then we close it.
What's our risk? What's our risk is if we don't do that and we open our meeting on town meeting floor if we have to do this. It won't be posted to open at the end of the meeting. That's our problem, right?
You're saying to post a meeting simultaneous with annual.
It's such a pain to have to adjourn our meeting at the end of town meeting, and this article never comes up. It hasn't recently.
I see what you're saying.
But sometimes it does, you know,
No, it hasn't for years.
yeah, but I remember one year we had a member of the audience get up and request fire hoses.
Right,
And we
but,
had to change the budget, and it was like, darn, you know,
yeah, but we have excess levy capacity.
that's true.
I think this is if you have to go to override. To avoid it, I guess it's to avoid, okay,
Yeah.
we'll just do what we've always
Just do it and then
We'll
go.
just do it.
Yeah.
Nice chance to get together in the little seats,
Did we vote?
the little school seats.
That's right.
Did we vote on this?
No.
We
Or did we just?
Are we on 15?
I think we just voted on 21.
Okay,
voted-
21 may change, but we
Unanimous.
voted
You voted
conceptually
on
on
that
this.
you voted on the last
The
article.
one that I thought would be a slam dunk is taking us a half an hour. Okay,
You voted
So-
on 15 too, didn't you?
So 15 is the CPC article.
CPC, we voted that.
16 is the OPEB.
We've done that.
7,
That's the
20
revolving
we're
fund
going over
for,
and 21 we just voted.
yeah, 17 is a revolving fund for
Right, this sets the spending limit, right?
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec and Board of
Board
Health.
of Health.
And we,
Those we do every year, sort of the same way.
We just started Board of Health last year.
That's true, right.
Okay, so do I have a do I have a motion that we recommend Articles 15, 16, and 17?
so moved.
Second.
Gar, second. Any discussion? Tom?
Yes.
Gar?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Maury?
Yes.
Sarah votes yes. Okay, so we've done those. So we've done everything.
I think you got it. I think you got it.
Come to the finish line on this one.
Okay,
So again, some of those numbers may change a little bit depending on the order the select board puts them in.
so these numbers were based on, this isn't dated.
The version I sent you last, did I send that to you yesterday afternoon?
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
three-
it says
three-
Draft 2.
318, the 318 version.
440 minutes.
Can we get an updated final budget?
Yes.
It says draft 2 up above. Presumably you would go to draft 3 with significant changes.
okay. I think last year we had number changes and we got really screwed up. I recall.
That was very confusing.
Yeah, you're right.
It was
Very.
very confusing.
Anything else on the budget? Town meeting? No, okay. Approved minutes. So Dean, you made some suggestions to change the minutes, and Gail has said she's gone back at the recording based on what was actually said. So I would prefer if we do not change those minutes.
Well, I would prefer that we add the thought that I had put in.
She's saying it's not in the recording, so we can't just add things in.
We add what I had in the recording. She said some of it wasn't there. I had added that, I mentioned that we need to look at a flat rate for this sanitation for the.
But we're not putting
Okay.
absolutely everything in our minutes that we
No,
discussed.
I think this is very important though, because
Why?
we're gonna need to supplement the sanitation budget when we lose the income.
But we'll deal with that when we deal with that budget.
Yeah, well, this is a harbinger, because I think a comp for that land would be the solar farm at Hamilton right next door. Just see what the value that they're getting for
We
that
didn't-
versus what we're getting in money. So what I did not
We
put
did
in the
not
minutes.
discuss that in detail in that meeting. If we want to have a discussion in detail at some other meeting, when it's appropriate, we can do that.
Yeah, well, I think something needs to be put in that it was said, because it's what I said, and I think it is important. Because I think it's not a good deal for the town, this Black Earth.
My concern is that if every single person on the committee comes back with changes for every single little thing they said,
I only commented on one thing on the whole meeting. Okay? I don't think that was excessive. The only thing I added is that we should compare the money from Hamilton that they're getting to I explained that it was that the tonnage of money
But we
equivalent.
didn't discuss.
I
that in the
didn't
meeting.
say the money equivalent, but it's implied when I was comparing it to Hampton. I did that for clarification. So, I mean, it seems like a formality to me. What does the board think?
Was it in the recording?
I don't know. I mean, that's the problem is if everyone wants to add things in,
I didn't
and,
add
and
anything.
Gail has to go back and re-listen to the recording to validate what was actually said, we need to increase our budget.
Maury, I remember you commenting on it after I made the comment. Do you remember?
So we're talking about 227?
Yes.
The first thing that you indicated you said was that you were looking to generate revenue to make up for the lost revenue. That was not stated during the meeting. You did state that you wanted to change the lease with Black Earth. However, they have a 10-year renewable lease, which refuted your statement on being able to change the lease.
No, I wanted to change it in the future, the next time something changed. But, you know, I wrote what I thought was right. If you guys want to sterilize it, go for it. You know, I'm not going to approve it.
In some other committees that I've been on, and I'm not suggesting we do it here, when there's a question of an issue that someone thought was important to put on the record, they could make a motion during a committee meeting that we put in our minutes of that current meeting where he's, attending, and say, I'd like to make a motion that I feel that we should charge more to Black Earth and so forth. And that
Well, we should look at what.
Yeah,
It has to be an item on the
It's a
agenda.
matter of
There's the issue.
comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah.
And it was a statement that I made pretty clearly.
I was just considering that might be a possible solution, but.
What's your feeling, Mark?
I'm feeling that we should follow Gail and what was in the recording. And I must say, I do worry about going back and altering minutes. When I look in the past.
I mean, we
I
don't.
wasn't the intent isn't to alter the minutes. It's to set the record
No,
straight.
it's your interpretation of what was said.
So if the board doesn't feel that way, that's fine. You know, if she wants to put what she heard, that's fine. I think it's an important comment.
I think my statement was, unfortunately, I can't read people's minds, and I can only develop the meeting minutes based on the recording and what I write down. And I go through the recording minute by minute before I write the meeting minutes.
Yeah, well, Gail, this isn't a criticism of you. I can't expect you to write everything that was said in the meeting. But when someone feels like what was said was important and it was by you interpreted that it wasn't, then, you know, I think a little
I didn't interpret
latitude.
it wasn't important. You didn't say it, is what my first statement was.
Right. Well, I did say it, though.
Okay.
All right. Well,
It's being recorded for these minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all recorded now, so,
So it's
It's
a
not
matter
recorded,
of,
let's move on.
yeah,
I have to agree with what Maury said, but it's being recorded now, so it's a matter of public record.
yeah, that's fine.
Anyone can listen to the recording. It's the benefit of what we do now.
Yes, they can. They're very hard. I've tried.
So I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 27th.
so moved.
I move.
Second.
Maury seconds. Ready to vote? Tom,
Yes.
Gar,
Yes.
Dean,
No.
Maury,
Yes.
Sarah votes yes. Peter,
I
you
wasn't here,
Okay.
so I understand.
Okay. So our next meeting is Thursday, March 27th. I sent out a draft of the annual report late today. before I took my walk. I said, oh, I gotta finish this so I can go take a walk.
It was great that you pulled it all together so quickly.
This is fabulous.
I've got to rejigger some of the numbers. I highlighted in yellow some information I need Andrea to validate for me. And so Andy in the past has put it in SharePoint for us, but he's out of town on business. So I'm wondering what people want to do about giving me comments. I would like to be able to, we need to vote on it on the 27th, is that correct? Yeah.
What's the best for you?
So I would like to be able to get out a final report to you on Tuesday. Does that make sense? So you have time to look at it before Thursday? Is Tuesday enough time for people?
Do you want comments before then?
Yes. I want to have a final report on Tuesday.
So you want comments by Monday from us?
Monday morning, maybe.
The date, Monday morning, what date?
You had the 24th.
24th.
Okay.
Sometime
Let's say by noon.
between now and then, I can get it.
Oh, yeah, you can give them to me earlier. If you can give them to me earlier, that's great.
Do
Yes.
we go straight to you, or is it circulated among all of us?
We're not
No,
doing the
just
clear
send it to
go.
me. And then I'm going to integrate them all, and then I'm going to send the whole thing out to people on Tuesday, so then people will see what's all been pulled together, and we can discuss it on the 27th to see if there's additional changes. So you'll still have an opportunity on the 27th to make changes, but it's really helpful if I can get this stuff in advance, because Greg is chomping at the bit to send it to
Always.
Well, the problem is we used to have the Boy Scouts deliver them. So now they have to mail them.
So that-
And the U.S. Postal Service isn't very fast, considering it's been taking them 4 days to get me overnight mail.
The Boy
I
Scouts.
think they have fewer employees these days.
Wait a month or two.
I was gonna say, it's
So
still
Sarah, a suggestion, we're not using SharePoint at the moment.
Right.
Would it be helpful if we, when we made comments, like highlighted our comments in a
Track
color for you?
changes.
Yes.
Use the
Or
track
you can
change.
use track changes, but I'm just thinking,
Yeah,
if you haul up two documents and our
I've
comments
been
are
having
in
troubles
pink.
with track changes.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah.
So what if we just highlight in?
Just highlight it, yeah.
Okay,
I don't know, I have some
pick a
new,
color, any color.
exactly.
I have some new version of Word.
Okay.
And for the life of me, I can't make it track changes for me.
I don't like that.
Sounds familiar.
I've tried it, but I've always in a rush, so I
So
haven't.
we'll highlight.
Yeah, so just highlight your changes, yeah. And I'll figure it out. Slowly.
Thank you for doing this.
Okay. And I did consolidate some things.
Good.
So I made a section on FinCom policies, instead we had it, so I tried just to streamline it a little. It's not perfect, but it's what you do when you kind of wait till the last minute.
Well, you accomplished 3 saved pages. That's almost 1/3.
So nobody's allowed to add in pages.
No worries here.
Anything else we need to discuss? Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Sarah moves, Maury seconds, take a vote. Tom,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Dean, Maury,
Yes.
Sarah votes yes. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all.
You.
Thank you.
Wasn't as painful as I
Andrea.
expected.
You're in a good spot.